Well, as the hijab war continues to simmer across Karnataka, principal of a Karnataka public school in Shivamogga was caught on camera threatening the suspension of 58 protesting students against the ban on hijab. Shivamogga Deputy Commissioner later on clarified that the school principal had just issued a mere warning for unruly behavior and that no actual suspension order was actually issued. Reacting to this, District in Charge Minister Govt said no one was being suspended and that it was a mere threat to students to send them home to study and that they will be taken back to school. 58 students had protested on Friday, demanding that hijab be allowed inside the classroom, raising slogans that said hijab was their right and that they would give up their lives, but not the hijab.
DYSP ಅವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಉಪನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರು SDMC ಸದಸ್ಯರು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಬಂದು ನಿಮಗೆ ಮನವರಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿದರು. ಆದರೂ ಸಹ ನೀವು ಎಲ್ಲ ಈ ಮನವರಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ನೀವು ಉಲ್ಲಂಘನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಮಗಳನ್ನು ಈ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನಿಂದ ಸದ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ಸಸ್ಪೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. सस्पेंड ಮಾಡಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ನೀವುಗಳು ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಆವರಣಕ್ಕೆ ಸದ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ಬರೋಹಾಗಿಲ್ಲ.
सस्पेंड नहीं किया गया है, उम्र कम है, एग्जाम भरो. उन लोग ने ये नहीं किया तो उन लोगों को थोड़ा सा डराने, एक छोटा सा ऐसे टीचर लोग बोलते हैं ना कैसे, उस टाइप का एक उन लोग को मनवी करके रिक्वेस्ट करके वो किया गया. किसी का ऊपर ये केस दर्जा नहीं किया, उनको सब घर भेजा गया है.
There's a video bite that has been recorded of the principal during the situation protest. He has been heard saying that you have all been suspended. You can't come to the school from tomorrow, college tomorrow. It's on record, sir.
No. You are simply threatening. We checked it. Okay. No such other issue. So they were going that time unruly. So they were. So we told that you can wait outside, but the kids are not ready to sit there. And they are going inside, then that time he told like that, but no such other issue.
Jamal is getting us the very latest on that big story. She continues to track that very closely, Nabila. So clarification coming in that there was in fact no written order, but it was just some sort of a threat that was given to these girls. Essentially just go back to school, get back to writing your exams, or your serious action is going to be taken against you.
Right, we heard what the principal of the Karnataka public school in Shivamogga was caught on camera saying. He very clearly threatened these 58 students of suspension, saying that because you've been protesting and you're not complying with the court's interim order, and since you're creating a ruckus outside college, then we're going to suspend you, and until further notice, you will not be allowed to come inside college premises. Now, this is a very important statement to make while at a time the situation is so sensitive. We're looking at a lot of commotion between college managements and school students, college students over this High Court's interim order, and it doesn't seem like a direction has gone out as yet by the government, and that's what's resulting in this kind of chaos and commotion, confusion outside many institutions. Now, saying that these students are going to be suspended has now raised several questions on the future of these students, and not just these. You see protests in many other colleges. Will all of those institutions take up and adopt the same policy of suspending their students for protesting? This needs to be put to an end to at the earliest. Let me quickly cut across to Nolan. Pinto, Nolan, initial confusion about 58 students were suspended or not suspended. You heard the police authority saying that we've not got any notification on it. The principal saying we've not suspended. But he's here caught on camera saying very clearly that he's suspending all those students, 58 of them who are protesting outside, and they will not be allowed inside college until further notice.
Well, Nabila, let's listen to what the DC actually says. In fact, when he was speaking to my colleague, he says the students were going unruly. We told them to wait outside. Kids were coming inside to protest. That time, the principal said that he basically threatened them, but no suspension orders were given. But the point is, the principal did say that because for the past few days, all the senior authorities have tried to convince you, but since you're not listening, you will be suspended. And because you're suspended, you will not be allowed to enter the campus. Yes, as of now, the government can say this was just merely to threaten them, but those students were suspended. That's the end of the story. When you're in school, you don't have this, unlike a government where they come and write a letter and say that this is your suspension order. No, the principal or the school teacher suspends you and you actually leave the college or school campus. And that is exactly what has happened now. But after India Today actually broke the story, first the DC said that he spoke to the principal. The principal said nothing as such happened. Later on, an hour later, after I spoke to the district in charge minister, my colleague speaks to the DC and the DC says, no, there was. The principal now tells him that yes, verbally, they were, an order was given for suspension, but it was only to threaten them. And this is exactly what the district in charge minister tells us. I'm actually on my way to the school. I want to try and find those students and see if it was really that they are still being suspended, because the minister tells me that they can come back to school. What really happened? We will get to the bottom of this.
Very tragic here. First of all, you see a commotion that's being created and so much confusion. Over that, the principal now saying that he's going to suspend these students and then backtracking when India Today reaches out to the principal. Let's take a quick listen again. What exactly did that principal of that institution say to those students while they were agitating right outside, asking for the management to allow them with the hijab inside classes? And Nolan, I will still come back to you to understand if that college and that institution earlier allowed hijab or not. Let's take a listen at the principal first.
DYSP ಅವರು, ನಮ್ಮ ಉಪನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರು, SDMC ಸದಸ್ಯರು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಬಂದು ನಿಮಗೆ ಮನವರಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿದರು. ಆದರೂ ಸಹ ನೀವು ಎಲ್ಲ ಈ ಮನವರಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ನೀವುಗಳು ಉಲ್ಲಂಘನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ನಾನು ನಿಮ್ಮಗಳನ್ನು ಈ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನಿಂದ ಸದ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ಸಸ್ಪೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. सस्पेंड ಮಾಡಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ನೀವುಗಳು ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಲೇಜಿನ ಆವರಣಕ್ಕೆ ಸದ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ಬರೋಹಾಗಿಲ್ಲ.
सस्पेंड नहीं किया गया है, उम्र कम है, एग्जाम भरो. उन लोग ने ये नहीं किया तो उन लोगों को थोड़ा सा डराने, एक छोटा सा ऐसे टीचर लोग बोलते हैं ना कैसे, उस टाइप का एक उन लोग को मनवी करके रिक्वेस्ट करके वो किया गया. किसी का ऊपर ये केस दर्जा नहीं किया, उनको सब घर भेजा गया है.
What?
ನಮ್ಮ ಉಪನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರು, SDMC ಸದಸ್ಯರು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ
quickly cut across to Dhruv Jatti, who has founded this Bangalore student community, who's been very closely tracking these developments. Dhruv, 58 students verbally suspended by the principal. When India Today reached out to them, they said, no, we have not suspended anyone. But then that video clearly shows him telling those students that you're not allowed inside college premises until further notice, and for now you are suspended for protesting. We're seeing a chaos already unfolding because of this kind of confusion and no direction or intervention from the government. On the other hand, you have college management saying that you're not allowed inside classes until further notice. This is really now resulting in this kind of fallout between the management and the students, and this only increasing to a point where we're looking at these students' future now only a big question. How do you look at all this chaos across different institutions in Karnataka today?
The fact that you see this is political is that the minister, the honorable minister himself, protected the principal, saying that this was a warning. But if you actually see, the principal himself is disallowing the students to enter inside the classroom. This shows that the minister should be taking action on the principal. But however, he's protecting him in this case, which is deeply disappointing, because this shows how this is such a problematic situation that has occurred in our education system at this point of time. And who knew a day would come where students would be stopped from entering educational institutions. And amidst all this communal tussle, students have become collateral damage amidst all of this. So this is extremely disappointing, and the minister should take immediate action on the principal instead of protecting him at this point of time.
Right, Dhruv, you said that the minister must take immediate action, and I understand that you've also gone with your people to go and meet with the Education Minister, Ashwath Narayan. What was the assurance that you got from them? But because we heard that the Karnataka government has now distanced itself from this entire fallout, saying that we never advised anyone to stop students entering with the hijab. Only those students with CDC guidelines should be following the interim order. If not, we are not interfering in the matter at all. So don't drag us in. We are staying away from all this mess. Instead of staying away, don't you think a direction should have come from the government to avoid this chaos, allow the students in, which were allowing for hijab earlier in the past?
Yeah, exactly. So I was a part of a delegation along with the Karnataka Deputy Leader, Honorable Yuti Kader. We met with with the Higher Education Minister, Mr. Ashwath Narayan, and the same request, as you've mentioned, it was reiterated yesterday itself, asking for a clear direction on the issue, asking for the Honorable Minister himself to come out and issue a circular. But however, we're yet to see that happen. And the fact that there is this mum and silence amongst government officials from the ministers who are supposed to be speaking out at this point of time, giving some sort of clarity, shows how deeply motivated this is. And this is in fact hurting the student sentiment, hurting the student community, disrupting the education of students, and also becoming a big black mark for the entire state of Karnataka at this point of time. This entire silence.
And absolutely, the silence is so eerie right now by the government, because on one hand you see these sloganeering outside institutions, protests, and students clashing with their managements, and on the other, the Karnataka government has been very quiet, awfully silent, saying that don't drag us into this. How can they shrug off responsibility entirely when these students' examinations are just around the corner? Have you spoken to any of these students? What's the real sentiment among them?
Most of the students are trying to, they're so confused, they're baffled. They're trying to understand if the government even wants them to even continue their education or to disrupt it, because it's come to a point where they're literally not being allowed into their classrooms. And when I was a student going to school, somebody next to me would be in a different religious attire. We wouldn't matter because that wouldn't matter because of the simple reason that we thought beyond those lines. But clearly, you see, the communal lines have gotten deeply into the education system over here, and the students are afraid. It's become extremely hostile at this point of time. And the silence from, the ministers and their end is further deepening the situation, in fact.
Right. Right now we see that examinations are just around the corner. Online classes is the option that the college managements have given to these girls who are wearing the hijab. They're saying, don't come to classes with the hijab if you don't want to take it off. We'll give you online classes. And these girls are insisting that they don't want to take online classes because they've had enough through the pandemic. Online classes really not going to help them at the point when they're just very close to examinations. They need in-person classes. Online classes, Dhruv, according to you, how effective are they?
Nabila, did online classes even exist before the pandemic? It was very rare. So what would have been the solution if, the pandemic hadn't struck? Would they have asked these girls to go and give classes online? You see, they're trying to use as many methods and, tools around them in order to, push them away from whatever the system is. And this is extremely disappointing. This is not the way you sort of act with the student community. The constitution, everything being in place. The last 1 month has been extremely sort of horrifying for everyone within the student community. So it's very disappointing. As a student, you should be looked beyond your religious lines. You should be allowed inside your classrooms despite what you wear. It's as simple as that. That's what's been going on for years together now. The fact that you're, specifically targeting something is being noticed across the entire world at this point of time. And what's going to happen now is surely going to, show its interests later by the end of it.
Dhruv, thank you very much. And thank you for taking up the cause of these children, because really someone has to stand up for these innocent young girls who are being literally used as political pawns in this slugfest. It's awful that they're the ones who have to bear the brunt right at a time when they are close to their examinations. Many of them are certainly losing out. And this is not fair to them, to these young girls. A quick solution is mandatory. We're only hoping that this comes out earliest because we can only imagine that the Karnataka High Court will take a little while to deliberate on the matter. Until then, are you going to allow these students to literally be deprived of their fundamental right, and that is education to begin with? All right, let me quickly cut across to a big breaking news coming in. We have reactions coming in from politicians all over on the hijab controversy, and now you have